from the beginning. It starts literally before Skeletor gets his powers. Everybody gets a backstory. They go into the different nations of Eternia. Much, much better. The second one is probably the original series. You know, it's fun, but it's mostly for the sake of nostalgia. You're not really going to get into it. And then third, I would put this. The He-Man from the 90s, the New Adventures of He-Man. Yeah, just don't do it. It's He-Man in the future in space. It's also not worth watching. You know, so to bottom line, the whole controversy, you know, this show has plenty of reasons to hate it, least of which are the half-assed attempts at inclusivity. So don't be a bigot, but you can absolutely still hate the show.
All right. See, and that's exactly the problem with fanboys is they fail to understand the myopia of their opinions. First and foremost, what would make it more inclusive? What would make it less inclusive? How would you make it inclusive?
I have answers to that if you'd like to hear them.
Yeah, but everyone has a very unique but somehow professional point of view of how to make something inclusive where there wasn't actually room.
No, it's called actually give respect to these groups that you're pretending to serve.
It's a point
it's
of
called
view.
Actually giving them respect and giving them what they really need.
And that's your
opinion.
And that's your opinion on the respect given to the characters, which is again where fanboys lose sight of their opinions. It's myopic to their actual opinion. That's it. That's it. It only sees what they want. They don't actually start asking other questions like, how do other people feel about this? Why do they feel about this? Are people within that group enjoying this? Do they see it as inclusive? Do they not? What would I do if I wanted to make it inclusive? We all have these complaints, but we don't actually have solutions.
Which I do have a solution.
Really hard to deal with. Same thing with going with the whole comic conversation. How many different times are we going to take source material that actually has comics and we're all going to say, well, in the comics, they did. Yeah, we know that. But could you argue that more people saw the TV series when they were kids, so they probably don't remember how fucking shitty the show was or any plot? And we're going to get all hunky-dory about plot and how the plot's going to roll out, then we're probably not going to actually go to the original series because there's no plot. So if we're going to get all up in arms about the damn plot, then we got to lose sight of that. So what exactly are we holding on to? I guess we're going to have to go to comics. But again, how many people read all of it? How many people have gone through all of it? Chances are most of the people that you're going to end up talking to are people that watched the series and probably, sadly, the movie. And probably mix in some of the series that came in after because it was on TV. After that, you're losing people. So you can make that argument, but I would argue that you can have someone right next to you with the exact same point of view all the way up until about 5%, and that 5% is going to feel like an ocean because you're coming at it from one comic angle, and he's coming at it from a different comic angle. And that's exactly the problem. You can't actually answer those problems. You can only do your best to go with source material, but pick one and go with it, which is the same problem your lovely X-Men always have. You never actually stick to what source material you want to go with. You start plotting all over the place and then try to shoehorn it in. And that's when you get every fanboy pissed off, and then they keep changing it. I guarantee you X-Men would have been better if some of the fanboys would have shut the fuck up and realized it was just their opinion and not an actual point of view and let the fucking series roll out. Who knows what would have happened? You probably would have had 6 good ones. You probably would have had the same thing as MCU. But no, your fucking fanboy shit got in the way.
We were doing so well, and then Rashawn brings in Dark Phoenix. I mean, that's just how we were doing so well.
No, we've already established that, you know, like you can't say anything when you actually call those last few Star Wars movies watchable. Like that's just not. But you know, just coming along and saying, "Hey, opinions exist," is not a thing either. Like just saying, "Hey, you know what? There's more than one opinion on Earth. Did you know that?" Yes, thank you, enlightening. No, you actually have to be courageous enough to do what is necessary, and that's exactly
what is that.
The reason I said, hold on, wait. The reason I said, and I made it a point to say that it's the algorithm-friendly levels of inclusivity was
how you know that
neither of you commented on the obvious queer baiting in this fucking movie.
But how do you know
you
that?
You should, if you're going to take this position, have an opinion on the fact that if you're going to have gay, one thing the gay community is tired of is queer baiting.
You literally brought up your example of He-Man going gay, so it was your idea versus their idea. Like, what's the difference?
That's not the same thing. It's not the same thing.
The same
There's a difference between queer baiting and making the main character gay.
How would that not be queer baiting?
Showing affection, like no. The queer baiting is when they're insinuating that Tila has a girlfriend, but they don't want to go too far with it, because then
they literally talk about the relationship in the series. I'm not sure if you watched the whole thing, but they actually talk about the relationship in the series.
Do they kiss?
No skipping around. That is her girlfriend.
Do they kiss?
You don't have to kiss. It's
do they get married?
One of the best fucking arguments.
Do they get married?
Last Star Wars. One of the best arguments against Last Star Wars, and this one across all geekdom, was they didn't have to fucking kiss at the end. You don't have to kiss to actually show a relationship. That is antiquated.
If it was a straight character, if it was a straight couple, they would have done it.
If we're gonna thumb our nose at what is equality and what is inclusion and all that, we better check ourselves in the sense of what our point of view is coming from, because that is an antiquated patriarchal point of view. There are plenty of people out there who actually would prefer not to see affection.
Antiquated patriarchal. We're talking about a gay couple. What the fuck? Anyway, no, we're talking about the simple fact that if it was a straight couple, they would have done it.
Watching the series, it's not just for one person.
They wouldn't have given it a second thought.
But the question is, Will, now, do you think that they, are they doing it? Do you think you strictly think? And I'm having to collect my thoughts here because I'm not doing a very good job, Greg. I apologize. But you're saying that the fact that she didn't kiss her girlfriend is the queer baiting, not that it was done for subtlety, not that it was done to draw between the lines, that it wasn't,
they had no interest in subtlety. I mean, they changed all of the design of her and all of the female characters, which again, you can totally do. That's not
changed Adam.
But when you're going to touch on the queer, when you touch on the queer baiting, then yes, not having exactly what you would have for a heterosexual couple in your show, and you're avoiding it for a gay couple, is absolutely queer bait.
But here's what I bring to you, Greg. Here's what I bring to you, Greg. You had, at that point, you're asking the question about inclusivity and where it's good and where it's bad, and where it works and where it doesn't. But one thing we had talked about before the show, and I'll bring it up now, is you have a group of people that will hate something because it's not inclusive enough. Right. And we sort of agree that may not really work so well for fandom, and that may not be a good way to bring us entertainment. There's also going to be a group of people that are going to be pissed off if you do try and include anybody for anything. Right. Black Panther was considered overall a successful movie. Well done. People liked it. Representative in the community. There were still bigots who hated it. And there's still going to be bigots who hate He-Man for this, for even the implied part, which you would call queer baiting. So the question becomes, where does one give over to the other? Where does everything become the same? Where does a snake start to eat its tail? And that's what I've really questioned a lot in this particular series, because I thought they put in some serious thought into the story. They gave it some depth. They gave it some gravitas. They gave it some stakes. And they did change it up enough. I think, listen, it's only been 5 episodes. He's got 5 more coming. So we'll find out. And we'll see more what happens to He-Man. But we got He-Man that dies. He makes the ultimate, where I'm going to give you something is her going off on him and bitching him out in heaven is a little like, Mary Magdalene being pissed off at Jesus after he dies. And you came back? I thought you died. I was worried about you. You were up there on the cross and I cried and you were there. I'll give you that. Okay. A little bit of that going on, all right. So some props. But Adam, he sacrifices himself to save Eternia with his arms outstretched and a crown on his head. Not like we've seen this anywhere before. And then decides to come back to save the people. Okay, again, not like we've seen this anywhere before. So you can accuse him of a certain amount of lack of creativity going on there. But
I'm saying this is the Buddy Jesus origin story.
a little bit of the I guess if you're going to get to my criticism, it was a little bit of Buddy Jesus.
Also a Kevin Smith movie.
Also Kevin Smith. And so, yeah, we know that in fact, a little bit how it went. Thumb up. How you doing, buddy? Christ. But that's my question. When there is such backlash to it, so instantaneously, so quickly, how much are people being anti-woke for the sake of being anti-woke, or woke for the sake of being woke, right? How about where is that line going to be drawn? Because I didn't think it was that bad of a story. I didn't think it had nothing. And even I'll give you some of your points, you've given me some of mine. And even you admitted it had some good points. Like you weren't like, this is the worst piece of trash. You didn't Star Wars this. That's for sure.
Yeah, the Moss Man point definitely needs to be our whatever our boilerplate for this episode. It has to be, because that if there's gonna be a comment that won it all, it's who knew you could just burn Moss Man.
You can just set Moss Man. You can't set actual moss on fire just by throwing fire, but you could just burn moss. Apparently, he's more like fall leaves man.
It was magic fire. It was eldritch fire from Skeletor.
Yeah, he's more like seasoned lumber man than he is moss.
The wicker man.
Right. Moss has a lot of water in it. But anyway, no, we're not talking about making movie, because let's just say the enemies on either end of this. You have the real enemies, which are the algorithm, and on the other end you have the trolls. And we're not.
What algorithm? No, I'm sorry, I was gonna shut up, but what algorithm? Like you don't have that.
Netflix
has one of the best on the planet.
Does have a big algorithm, and they have generated some content almost entirely based on that.
Oh, completely.
I've turned.
If you guys want to go full tinfoil hat, go for it.
Wait, you really don't know that?
They have it for you to watch. It's probably obvious that they have some fucking hack writers who are watching what you're watching and kicking out. I don't think that Kevin Smith falls into that category. I think that Kevin Smith is an individual who's looking at it like, how the fuck do I retell a story that has so many different people attached to a project with so many different points of view? I have to pick a through line, and I have to just go with it. Did he probably do, as Frank pointed out, which I wasn't even thinking about while I was watching, a little bit of an origin story to Buddy Christ? Yeah. A lot of it, yeah, especially the whole coming back, forsaking heaven to come back. I mean, that part really puts it on the nose when you even say it out loud a little bit. But past that, again, it's opinion of what exactly do you think should happen, and why do you think your opinion is better than others, and why do you think other people don't have an opinion that is actually in a positive way? It's not about being woke or not. That's the whole reason why I hate that whole fucking conversation. It makes us all sound like idiots, every single one of us. How about if it's just good or not, if you like it or not? Move the fuck on. You talk about inclusion in the sense of like, oh, it'd be better if He-Man did it this way, or if someone kissed or made out or fucking whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, I get what you're saying. And it's not so much that I always disagree, but I also would point out there are plenty of people who disagree with that whole sentiment. So why is yours more important than theirs? In the same way, back and forth. How about we just let content creators create good things? And the one thing we hold them accountable to, which we all bring up many times, one way or the other, if it's shit or not. So if you want to say it's shit, I get it. You don't like it. It's your opinion. But if you want to go into this whole woke and not woke thing, that's, again, your opinion that you have no way of proving, and you also have to go against the idea that your idea is somehow better, then you have to say why. Exactly why is your idea better?
All right. So I was going to say that once again, and I'm going to get to that too. I was going to say, like, say that those are the two enemies of entertaining content. You don't want to listen to the trolls, but you also don't want to listen to the algorithm either. Because again, this is a place where creativity should fit in. You need to know your audience. You need to understand what your audience wants to see. You need to know that if you make this, like, this is going to go down as part of the lore. Like, this is going to be canon, and you need to respect that. And you can't say, oh, well, like, these are the old fans, we don't care about that. Bullshit. You know, younger people are watching anime. You need our nostalgia dollars. You need our nostalgia hours. And so when you get to a point where, like you said, you know, are they eating one or the other? Like, no, you know, making something that hits with the audience will settle that argument. Because again, Mad Max